Hey there, I'm so glad that you made your way onto this presentation and that you have an interest in joining Titan Future Teachers. I'm going to be walking through the PowerPoint with you today and helping you with the process of joining the program. Throughout the presentation, there are going to be various parts where I've indicated pause on the video, so that way you can, of course, pause and then do the corresponding activity on So welcome, my name is Jacqueline Calabrese. I go by Jack, and I'm an academic advisor in the Center for Careers in Teaching, as well as the coordinator for Titan Future Teachers. So I'm very happy to have you here and to have you join the program. There's my email listed below, so you're going to need that, and I'll go into a little bit more detail at the end of the presentation about what you will do with my email. So before we officially get started, I'd like for you to take a pre-program survey. This is a mandatory component of becoming a Titan Future Teacher member. So if you want to access the link that's on your video now, you can click on that. Or if you want to use your phone, you can hover your camera over the QR code, but go ahead and hit pause, and I'll see you back here in just a second. Great, thanks for completing that survey. Some important announcements before we get started officially. The first announcement, it has to do with your emails moving forward. I'm just going to be emailing your CSUF account, so make sure that you're checking that regularly. And also please note that your CSUF email address has the extension at csu.fullerton.edu. It's not at fullerton.com, it's not at csuf.org. All these kind of creative ways of coming up with a student email address is just going to mean that your emails are going to get lost if you've indicated that as your email address. And that's important because we use this program called Eventbrite to manage our workshops and events. And oftentimes, it happens all the time, students will type in something like, Rebecca at fullerton.com or csuf.edu. And I don't think those are real email addresses. So I'm not sure where the reminders for the event go. So make sure that you're always checking that for accuracy. Next up is if you have any tech needs, if you still need a laptop or Wi-Fi support, please contact our campus IT ASAP, and their information is listed there for you because we want you to have a successful semester, which obviously includes having reliable access to technology. So even though this is a recording that's taken place after the Titan Future Teacher kickoff, I still want you to go through the video very intentionally and thoughtfully because even though you're not interacting with others today, this is the beginning of a good exploration into the kind of teacher that you want to be eventually and the kind of teacher that we're looking to support at Cal State Fullerton. So make sure that with your responses today, you're not just looking to rush through them, but you are really having that intentionality and taking the time to reflect on you as a future educator. So welcome yet again, and at this time I want to let you know who's all on the team at the Center for Careers in Teaching, which is the department that I work for. And at our kickoff, they were all there in person, but the people I'll be introducing you to today are just here via their headshots. So here on this slide, let me introduce you to the team. At the top there is Ashley Delaney. She's our program assistant for Titan Future Teachers, and she's a student at Cal State Fullerton. Next is Francisco Vasquez, a student assistant for the Center for Careers in Teaching, also wants to be a future teacher, and he handles a lot of the calls and social media for the Center for Careers in Teaching. The next three individuals are my fellow colleagues and advisors in the center, and that's Jose Flores, Heather Terry, and Jen Robles. Each of us would love to meet with you during an advising appointment, and I'll give you more information about that and how to set up an appointment at the end of the presentation. And there's Amy Nelson. She's our director for the center, and you've already met me. So we are all here to support your pathway to teaching. Before we continue on, I just wanted to let you know something to clarify that was a little bit confusing when I was an undergraduate student at Cal State Fullerton, which was, how is it that there's colleges and there's a university? Someone explained this to me. So in the first three columns there, you're going to see that there are colleges that have undergraduate majors associated with them. So for example, the major of liberal studies falls under the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. The major of CAS, Child and Adolescent Studies, falls under HHD, Health and Human Development. And in the third column, there's additional colleges. Each one has majors that find their way to teaching. In the last column there is the 8th college at Cal State Fullerton, the College of Education, which is quite unique because this college has no undergraduate majors. The college only offers master's and doctoral programs. But it's important to note that all 3 teaching credential programs are housed within this college. So even though you're not technically a member of the College of Ed yet, the hope is that you will be. So we like to let you know what the college stands for and what the expectations are beforehand, right? So that way you know what is expected of you. So 2 individuals that you should know about also are Diana Lopez, our Assistant Dean for the College of Ed, as well as Kim Case, our Associate Dean. So 2 individuals that would love to support you, and if you ever need any additional resources or just support, you can contact me and I can get you their information. During our kickoff, we had the pleasure of also having our Dean of Education, Dr. Lisa Kurtman. Her Instagram is provided there. She would be thrilled if you would give her a follow. And since she's not here on today's recording, I'm just going to read a quote from her, which was, "I fell in love with teaching. My students were genuinely happy to see me. There was and still is nothing better than being a teacher. It is so rewarding." And something that I love that she shared with our students is that her pathway to teaching wasn't very conventional. Her family actually didn't want her to go into teaching, and yet she found her way there, and just has never had any regrets about that career choice. She's our dean now, but still has that heart of a teacher. So this is another part of the presentation where in just a second you'll hit pause, and that's to go over to that Google form, and you'll find the corresponding sections where in 1 to 2 sentences you'll let us know why you want to be a teacher. Something short, don't overthink it, and we'll be back here in just a second. So continuing on, just a little bit of background for Titan Future Teachers. We're not that old. We started in fall 2018, so this is our 3rd year of initiating new members. We've had over 500 members since our first year, and at our kickoff that just took place on August 18th, 2020, we had a new cohort join, so that number is going to be bumped up quite a bit. And with you, every student that we get, our numbers are just growing and growing. There's a lot of interest, and I think the reason is because there's no undergraduate teaching major or education major at Cal State Fullerton, so it can feel difficult to connect with others that want to do this, teaching thing, especially right now with all of us being distance learning. That community can be extra tricky. So our hope is to still get you to bond with others and find that commonality in your passion for educating students. With Titan Future Teachers, we have 3 goals. The first is that we want you to connect and build that community. The next is we want you to prepare so that by the time you are ready to apply for a credential program, you feel ready. There aren't questions that are huge and outstanding, but you feel like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And lastly, we want you to advocate. We want you to demonstrate both awareness and fluency in something that we call just, equitable, and inclusive education. We refer to this as JEIE, and you'll hear that throughout the presentation. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what that stands for. So at this time, we're going to do an activity, and this is going to be based on a video that I'm going to add into the presentation. And the whole activity is about teaching us your name. You should know that the video that I'm adding in has been edited for time, and it's part of a larger video that's roughly double the length, but I'll provide that link also if you want to watch it in its entirety, but go ahead and watch the video.
My name is Huda Reisa. I recognize that my name is not a familiar one to most people that I meet. Now, because my name was mostly mispronounced throughout my life, I didn't always love hearing it. In fact, I hated my name. I didn't want to draw any more attention to it, so I would never correct anyone who mispronounced it, especially not my teachers. So in the 2nd grade, I thought it was high time that I make the executive decision to change my name. So the brainstorming began as I pondered upon what normal name would be closest to Huda. Huda might be closest to Heather. I then thought about my last name, Isa, which means Jesus in Arabic. And yes, everyone, Muslims do love Jesus. So I thought, and then I've got it. The next day, with great pride and my head held high, I announced, from now on, you can call me Heather Jesus. Yeah. Not my most creative moment. So I laugh when I recall this memory, but I've also come to reflect upon why it was that I felt this need to change my identity. See, I was born and raised here in America. I grew up in a neighborhood where my family was a minority as Muslims and as Arabs. So as you might imagine, there weren't too many other Hudas walking around. I was an avid reader as a child, and like most American children, I watched some TV and movies. All the while, subconsciously, I was absorbing the notions of what the normal names were, according to the names of the characters I most commonly encountered. And then there was the always hopeful, yet somewhat pitiable, search for Huda among the H section of name bracelets and souvenirs. Always a letdown. Cultural families throughout our history and still today succumb to the pressure to abandon the names of their original languages and cultures in order to give themselves and or their children a name that they have come to understand will be deemed more acceptable in the society they live in. This pressure to conform began with the indigenous people of our land, who were literally forced to conform. And today, for many people, in their own ways, they still feel they are being forced to conform. And changing our names is just one example of this. Another illustration of this is that so many of us now feel very removed from that other world that we come from. No longer being able to speak another language that our ancestors may have spoken, or understanding the cultures of the people and places of our roots. I get the idea that we should all follow the same laws in order to live in civil and safe communities, but does that really mean that we all have to look the same and sound the same and think the same? And this is when I began my learning of unconscious bias. You see, regardless of our backgrounds, from a very young age, we begin and continue to form unconscious biases based upon what we've been exposed to. And when it comes to various groups of people, we will find that what we've been exposed to is usually limited and often biased. I became a teacher. On the first day of school, rather than just calling off names while I took attendance, I resolved to ask my students to teach me their names. Now, granted, this came with a little bit of resistance, with some students saying, "Oh no, Miss Issa, you just say it the way you want to." But I insisted that they teach me to say their names the way their parents say their names. This minimally altered beginning led to children having an increased confidence in their names and also having a more genuine interest in learning about the identities of others. Among many other remarkable side effects of this practice, one took me by surprise when one of my then third graders, who only spoke English, approached me and said, "Miss Issa, Khalud, Arturo, Hamza, and Ala are going to be in my group." And he said it just like that. He said ha, cha, a, ra. And these are all sounds that are not in the English language. Now, if this child ever decides to take on the wonderful endeavor of learning other languages, and those languages might use some similar sounds, he will now be better able to communicate fluently in that language, and therefore be better understood. My hope is that we will soon swap out the lens in which we use to view names of applicants, candidates, students, so that we are just as comfortable in meeting Ayano, Bahati, and Fabienne as we are in meeting Anna, Bethany, and Frank. My first name is Huda. Huda is pronounced like the hood of a car. Huda. Huda is an Arabic word, meaning positive guidance. My middle name is the name of my father, Allah Yarhama. And what I stated just now in Arabic is basically the equivalent of "may God rest his soul." It is a common tradition for many Arabs to give all of their children the same middle name of their father's name. One of the reasons for doing this is that it allows for a more specific descriptor of who that individual is. So you're less likely to confuse me with one of my cousins or someone else who shares my last name. You'll also probably be quicker to figure out who siblings and parents are upon hearing their names. My father's name was Musa. Musa is Moses in Arabic. In fact, there are so many names that we hear that may sound foreign to many of us, but they're actually names of holy mention in the Abrahamic faiths. And if you recall, my last name, Isa, meaning Jesus, models this as well. I now love my name and all that it stands for. I am one who seeks and strives to deliver positive guidance. I'm an advocate for freedom and social justice like Moses was, and in doing so, I promote peace and understanding as the beloved Jesus did. Now, those are just some of the ways that my name benefits me, but how does it benefit others? Consider the knowledge you gained from learning my name. You learned how to pronounce and now know the meaning of an Arabic word, Huda. You learned that it is common practice for Arabs to have their father's names as their middle names. You learned that there's an Arabic blessing that is commonly stated when mentioning those who have passed away. You learned that names that sound familiar or sound foreign may actually be more familiar than we think. And you also learned that Muslims do love Jesus. Now imagine all of the conversations that could stem from those insights and the further knowledge to be gained. Even if you have an apparently common name, there is a story behind that name that represents your distinct place in our shared world. In your name, you will find history, languages, locations, customs, bloodlines, beliefs, and complexities that are as intricate as the tightly woven threads of the fabric that makes you, you. Our names serve as symbols of the evolution of who we are today, and we can use them as keys to open countless doors that may have otherwise remained closed. So let's use these keys that we all have to expand our minds and increase understanding so as to lay the foundation for increased unity, because through unity comes strength. Around the globe, we exchange names in nearly every introduction to another fellow unique soul. Our names are where almost every relationship begins. So let's utilize that beginning to start a new norm, where rather than just telling us your names, you teach us your names.
So following up this video, there is an activity back on the Google form. And for this activity, I'm asking you to please share in 4 to 5 sentences what you would want others to know about your name. What would you teach them? This is an activity we were able to do in the kickoff in breakout rooms. So we're sorry that you missed that, but now at least you get to teach me, and maybe I can share with my team things about your name. Don't feel like you have to answer all the bullet points here. Just 4 to 5 sentences. Just pick a couple bullet points that stand out to you and things that you want to be able to share about your name. So go ahead and hit pause and complete that now. So returning back to the College of Education and just kind of the central philosophies to the college, I'm just going to read through these here. The College of Education is committed to anti-racist teaching and learning. We are committed to dismantling racist policies, practice, and ideas that influence schools, teachers, and children. One of our strategic goals, here's that phrase again, is to provide a just, equitable, and inclusive education, what we refer to as JEIE. As a college, we call upon our faculty, staff, students, pre-teachers, right, which includes you, and our community members to walk this journey with us and become part of the solution through awareness, advocacy, and allyship. So those 3 words that I keep saying over and over, just, equitable, and inclusive, they're really loaded terms, and the way that the college has chosen to define them, it's these wonderful definitions, but I'm not gonna lie, they are complex concepts. And by no means do we expect a mastery of these terms, but we are asking you to explore them. So our next activity, you're going to be taking a look at one of the terms, and I'm going to click through the next slide so you can choose one of them to have as the basis for your reflection. And just know that there are no wrong answers. There really aren't. But we are asking you to, again, be very intentional about this reflection. So let me go on to the next slide. So you might want to pause here if this is the page that's looking good to you to reflect upon, and this is on just education. This next one is on equitable education, so you'll read over mainly the part in blue and see if that's something you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into. And lastly, we have inclusive education. There's that part in blue. So just to recap, you're choosing one of these 3 slides and then doing the activity on the Google form. So go ahead and pause at this point, maybe rewind and complete the activity, and we'll meet you back here shortly. All right, everyone. It's now time to talk about Titan Future Teachers as far as the details of the program, the expectations of our members, and get into a little bit of our calendar for this coming semester. It's with sadness in my heart that I let you know that our shirts that we have become known for and our giveaways and all in-person socials are on pause for right now, but hopefully not canceled forever. So I'm looking forward to the day to be able to meet all of you in person. So our member expectations, the first thing that might shock you is that we don't have any formal requirements. We don't force you to go to a certain number of events. We don't force you to do community service. It's rather our hope that our events and workshops are just so robust and so great that they make you want to come back just of your own volition. However, the one explicit requirement that we do have is that we're asking you to stay committed to this exploration of becoming a great teacher to all students and really enforcing and actively pursuing a just, equitable, and inclusive education. So as far as becoming an official member, you're going to see a link pop up, and that is our membership participation agreement. I want you to carefully read through that. It's essentially our contract, even though it's not very long and you're not signing with a pen or anything. I want you to make sure that this is a program that's a good fit for you. And you'll see kind of what we stand for in that document. And if you agree with everything, you'll just submit that and you can come back to this presentation when you're ready. But if you need some more time to think about it, maybe things just aren't resonating with you, make sure to reach out to me so we can have a follow-up. There's that QR code if you'd like to use that instead of the link that is on the video now. But either way, we'll meet you back here shortly. So now that you've become an official member, congratulations. And the first step, I will remind you of this over and over, is that we want to make sure you follow us on Instagram, but not just follow us, but also set up notifications. So let me walk you through that. There's our handle at CSUF_TFT. You'll give us a follow. And once you do, there's a drop-down menu that will pull up this additional menu. And we're just going to encourage you to set up your notifications so that every time we have a post or a story, it lets you know that that has happened. So that way, all those crazy Instagram algorithms don't get in the way of you getting important information from us. Next up is similarly to follow us on our Eventbrite organizer page. Our organizer is Titan Future Teachers. So you can follow that whole account. So every time that we post an event, it'll let you know so that way you can register for your tickets. And just a reminder, tickets are always free. We never charge for anything. Okay, this one's kind of funny, but once you register for events, we're hoping that you actually attend, not just like, well, we'll see if I have time, but it helps us just plan accordingly and get the right number of facilitators and things like that. So if you register, just try your best to attend. We understand things come up last minute, but try to stick to that commitment. So when it comes to our events for this coming semester, they're broken up into 2 main categories. The first is workshops and workshop follow-ups, and then we're going to have something else called a TFT Hangout. So in the blue on your screen there, for the workshops, on one week we'll have a workshop, and then the next week it's a workshop follow-up. So the workshops are going to be faculty-led with a focus on just, equitable, and inclusive education, which is critical in preparing you for a teaching credential program at CSUF. The workshop follow-ups are going to be the week after the workshop, where it won't be so much of a presentation, but it'll be digging deeper with your peers and having more conversation in breakout rooms. So in the kind of orangey color is information about our weekly TFT Hangouts. Those are going to be most Tuesdays from 12 to 12:50. Once you've completed all of these steps today, you are going to find that I'm going to send you a calendar about our events. And during the TFT Hangouts, those are going to be focused a little bit more on just a casual setting for building that community. And it's an opportunity to connect, have fun, and just ask questions. At this time, I'm going to give you information about the secret code that you're going to need for your Google form. And so the secret code is going to be double double animal style with fries. So you'll need that information for your Google form. Moving on is just information about dates that are upcoming, and we're asking you to save. Again, I'm going to be emailing you out a calendar, and this is going to look a little bit different in that email and easier to read. But September 1st is our first hangout, and then our workshops and workshop follow-ups are listed there also. Other resources that are important to know about at this time, we've talked about the Center for Careers in Teaching. That's our Instagram handle there. Men of Color in Education, they have events as well. And this is their Instagram handle, great resources there. And lastly, Student California Teachers Association, SCTA. This is a student organization, so the leadership structure is a little bit different. They have things like a president and a vice president, but lots of great opportunities through them, and you can give them a follow as well. So we want to make sure that you know how to make an advising appointment. I'm going to provide the link in the video now. Go ahead and click on that if you want to make an advising appointment. Advising appointments with us are 30 minutes, one-on-one. Any of our advisors, including myself, would love to help you out with your teacher pathway, including just if you have questions on the exam, the prereq courses, or even if you're just wondering, like, is this a career for me? We would just love to be able to chat things out with you. Our last quick activity is to go back to that Google form and just indicate one word that describes the kind of teacher that you want to be. And we'll wrap up in just a second. So everyone, thank you so much for being here today and just following along with all of these steps. We appreciate you taking the time to join Titan Future Teachers. We think it's a very meaningful part of the undergraduate experience, and that you're going to feel really prepared and connected in order to advocate for your students in the future. We hope that we see you at events this semester. And at this time, this is the next step that you'll do. Take note of my email again. There it is, jcalabrese@fullerton.edu. So once you've completed that whole Google form and just have watched the whole video and everything that is part of this whole process, when you're feeling like, yep, I've done everything, you can send me an email. And then in your in the subject line, you would indicate your name and TFT application, just so I can find those easily, and look to the Google form for a little bit more information about next steps for that. But I wish you a great semester and hope to see you soon.